Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that I have plot synopsis and character bios for this issue. This is Marvel Fanfare number 40. This is the back cover to it. I have already covered the Angel story from the first. There are two stories in the Marvel Fanfare, and this is the second story, which features Storm, and this story is written by Chris Claremont here. The artist is not someone that I am familiar with. So the penciler's name is a Craig Hamilton, and there's an inker by the name of Rick Bryant. Um, I Chris Claremont, of course, we know, and then these, of course, the artist I'm just not familiar with. But again, this is the back cover, and of course, you are if you have already seen this is the front cover for the Marvel Fanfare number 40. These are scans, not digital. They actually have not released this in digital, and I actually am liking it. I love the scans quite a bit. So you're actually seeing somebody take the comic book and then scan it. So that is really cool, and I wish there was more of it, but it is what it is, right? So this story, this short story, takes place between X-Men 184 and 185. Now, Marvel Fanfare number 40 had come out in 1988, I believe. So Marvel Fanfare, and I've explained this before, but if in case you didn't watch the previous video, is kind of where people would do stories for inventory, but now they were aging, so Marvel Fanfare was a way to get these stories out. And so this takes place in Atlanta. And this is, of course, before Storm loses her powers here. So Storm is still fully powered, but as I mentioned, this is almost to the time because of where this takes place, where she will be losing her powers here. So good art here. The leg's a little bent, I believe, or I think he's trying to show it back, but look how long this leg is. Arthur Adams would be proud of how long that leg is. So this is all done in first person perspective. It is a lot of talking, typical with Chris Claremont. So deal with the devil is our story, and of course here we get Chris Claremont, this Craig Hamilton, and this Rick Bryant here. So good coloring that is done here. And during this time, by the way, this is shortly after Jim Shooter. By the way, Jim Shooter passed away this week as of this recording. Um, Man, rest in peace. Jim Shooter was a true champion of comic books and deserved better than what happened to him. But such is life. Life is unfair. And so we'll just leave it at that here. So, all right. So we're going to get a little bit of introspective here of Storm as she's flying. And so they talk a little bit about the X-Men. I have a playlist. This will be put in the X-Men universe playlist, and it will be put appropriately between those two issues here. And so she's gonna go into this club. I believe it's called Delusions. You can see here the name of it, and this lady says, "Hey, you're expected, table 13." So she's gonna go through, and you see all the people dancing, and I love the way he looked. Like who goes out like this for real? This is such a movie trope and comic book trope where people just put on like they're basically not wearing a shirt. I mean, God, who does that here? And so he looks. He says, "Look into to party suites." And she says, for a party, yes, but not you. And he says, you're lost. If you change your mind, I'll be waiting. So it looks like he sells drugs, most likely. So, all right. So she's going through here, examining things, looking through, and continues on walking. And this lady says, table's in the next room. Your sister's already here. And she's confused here. And she goes, I have no sister. Of course, she gets here and sees her identical to her and realizes that this is Mystique. So, this is going to be a story about Storm and Mystique here. So Mystique offers her a seat and says, Ororo, surely you didn't expect me to appear in public wearing my own face. As leader of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, normally I don't like to say the word evil because I don't think they consider themselves evil. I think they'd say the Brotherhood of Mutants. I think they're doing exactly what it is. So this is before Freedom Force, of course. So anyway, as a leader of the Brotherhood, they're internationally notorious terrorists. I thought this camouflage would avoid any, and then she pauses and says, unpleasantness. You've nothing to fear. A truce exists between us. Remember, your safety is guaranteed. On that, I pledge my word of honor. And then Storm says, assuming, of course, that word means anything. And she laughs and says, very good. I believe there's hope for you yet. But if it causes you such distress for me to wear your face, that's easily remedied. And she puts on Kitty Pryde's face. Now, during this time, Kitty Pryde was actually not wearing this costume. So I believe the story was written and then they had it in there. So then they hired someone to illustrate and they used what Kitty looked like modernly. But she had on a separate costume during this time. So it is a bit of a continuity error, but I don't think most people notice. And the only reason I noticed is because as I was doing a little research for this story, it was on the notes saying, hey, during this time, because this of where this issue takes place, she was wearing the wrong costume. So, all right. And so, of course, that takes Storm aback, and she says, stop it, Mystique. Play with me if you must, but leave the child out of this. And so she changes again and says, I seem to have struck a nerve. Perhaps then you should have left well enough alone. And so Storm gets angry and she says, get to the point, woman. And you can see this lightning strike going from here. So you can see the weather. She's controlling the weather from in here. And she says, why have you summoned me? I love these panels. I think this is the influence of Todd McFarlane, who's already starting to during this time. He's actually, I believe, on Amazing Spider-Man. Definitely he's on the Hulk. So he says, you summoned me. Why? And so all the people are coming in from getting soaked here. And you can see these people getting soaked at all outside. So, and Mystique says, all in good time. First, darling, control yourself. You're frightening the humans. And Storm says, and I must admit, not only them, meaning herself here. So they look at each other in silence. And then Mystique asks, where's Rogue? She's my daughter, Storm. As much mine as if she was my own flesh and blood, not some pretend protege like your Pride brat, meaning Kitty Pryde. I've been trying to contact her for days at Xavier's school. And Storm says she has run away. And she says, curse you all. And then, let's see. Which way am I going to... So, it seems like I'm supposed to go this way. And so, Mystique says, I knew something had happened. And so, yep, we're going back this way here. She has been under considerable and increasing strain lately. Professor Xavier believes that it's a re-manifestation of the psychic instability that prompted her to seek his aid. And then so we this is actually a beautiful composition here, there to here, and then the middle portion. So of course we see Rogue here with some of the X-Men here when she showed up. There's no Wolverine because Wolverine was in Japan. So absolutely great, really good, well done. And Storm hadn't shaved her head during that time, so we still see the Storm as she was, although um, when they found her, or when she went in, no, she was still wearing the old costume here. So anyway, Mystique says, "Fat lot of good he's done her," and Storm says, "Could you do better? Did you? Well done here." And so the waitress comes. I just how their dress is so funny. "Freshen your drink. How about you? Name your poison." And Mystique says she'll have hemlock. And oh my god, this is so over the top. People don't dress like this. And people didn't dress like this, not even in the 80s. This is. Alright. Do know that brand. Didn't think so. Never mind. Love your hair and bewitching outfits. And Mystique says, "Behold, darling, evolution in action, but in which direction?" Superior advice as he watches. And so merits an appropriate recompense. So she makes out uh with the dude here, and Storm just watches here, and then as he leaves, she gives him a slap in the butt. Uh, "Delightful boy," she says. "Such a pity, my dear. You don't know what you're missing," she tells Storm here, as Storm just watches here. And so, God, now I lost track. Who's who? I think the Lightnings are Mystique. So, God, I even lost who's who. So, okay. So, earrings are Mystique here. All right. Is there a reason for our meeting other than this game of one-manship? Ah, yes, Rogue. She stands falsely accused of murdering an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., the International Intelligence Organization. I'm working to clear her name. So it's actually not set between um oh no, it is cuz I'm trying to think. When was she accused? No, you're right. I was right when I said it's between those two. It's between those two stories here, because I think in 184 is uh, where she apparently had killed the guy, although she really did not kill him. And then 185 is where they go look for her. So, all right. So Mystique says, "I'm working to clear her, but in the meantime, a federal strike force is on her trail. In their possession is a weapon capable of stripping any super being of his powers, perhaps permanently." And she says, "How do you know all this?" And she says, "I have my sources." And Storm asks, "What are they?" "You should know better than to ask. However, I assure you, they're unimpeachable." And she says, "You know where she is?" And Mystique says, "I know where to look. The list of this child, a list of the child's haunts. The most likely possible is Cattlecot County in the Mississippi. It's where she was born." And then she goes to Storm. "Oh, didn't you know? Ah, well, everyone everyone has her little secrets. Or perhaps Rogue didn't trust you as much as you believe." So she's gonna give her the little weapon, which of course we know the weapon is the one that is going to cause Storm to lose her powers. So, and so Storm says, "Why tell me this, Mystique? Why involve the X-Men at all? I would have thought this a perfect opportunity to win her back. Is that not what you want?" And Mystique says, "More than anything, but assume you're correct and I succeed. Nothing will have changed. Her power will still be out of control. I'll still be unable to cure her. I thought of allowing the feds to catch her and use a neutralizer on her. She'd be normal then, with nothing to fear, able at last to touch and be touched, to live an ordinary life." And she says, "Can you imagine, Storm, being terrified to touch your own child because, in a very real sense, that means your own destruction as she absorbs your psyche?" And Mystique continue, "Or being afraid to touch anyone for the same reason. Could you endure such an existence?" And Storm says, "I do not." And then she pauses. She says, "No." And so Mystique says here, "I was tempted, still am, but this device is untested. No one has the slightest notion of whether or not there's any side effects or how serious they might be. The risk is too great. Moreover, I can't do it, not to Rogue." And uh, Storm here appears quiet here, and then or is quiet here, but then I love this. This is actually very well done. Great storytelling by the artist here. And so Mystique says, "I haven't the right to make that decision. It has to be hers alone. So, Storm, I leave it to you. I trust you're pleased. The X-Men win again." And she says, "And the price?" And then Storm says, "If looks could kill." But then in here, uh, Mystique says, "Thinks higher than you dare suspect," which, of course, Mystique knows what's going to happen because of destiny here. And Mystique says, "Consider this a gift from a mother for her child," and walks away. And Mystique is going to change different places in case Storm is following her. So this is Mystique, this is Mystique, this is Mystique here. Um, and they let her know that Destiny had warned. So that is basically it's Destiny that had let her know. So she looks at it, reads it, and she can't. So she thinks this is a trap, but she has no choice. And so she goes, and there's Mystique, and here's Destiny, and they apparently the some of the things that we do here is we get a little bit more of the relationship between uh Ro- Rogue, between Destiny and Mystique, that it is most likely they are in love, and that they're gay. Now, keep in mind, this is still the 80s, even though we're going into the 90s. So we are getting a little bit more of that. But I'm sort of, there's so much writing, and this video is already going long. We all know the story of these two. So feel free to check out the link in the description below if you want to know more. So, all right, and so you can see that they're in love with each other, and that they sort of know. So Mystique kind of changes into an old guy and dances with Destiny. And of course, then we end with knowing that the X-Men are, or Storm is going to lose her powers and feels that she will eventually win everything. So there we go. So Marvel Fanfare number 40, Chris Claremont, and oh my god, I've already forgotten the name of the dude that drew this. Craig Hamilton. Sorry about that. It's well done. I don't know anything else that this dude has done, but anyway, hope you enjoyed this. This is just really neat to kind of fill in some of these gaps in the story. This, as I mentioned before, this will be in the X-Men playlist. Not and in the X Universe playlist. So this will be right put in. Anyway, like and subscribe. I do thank you so much for listening. Goodbye.